One of the pieces with this squat move you want to look at is where your belt buckle points in transition. The best pivots, the best hip motion, the best lower body motion in the world, their belt buckle from the top of the swing actually points more down towards the ground in transition. The bad version would be the belt buckle points more up towards the sky. You can see as my belt buckle points more up towards the sky, my legs lose flex. I get taller, the opposite of a squat. When my belt buckle points more down towards the ground, into your pelvic tilt, you can see that pushes my hips back and that increases the leg bend. And that would be the first part that I would focus on if you're looking to be a little bit more dynamic and powerful in transition, is you having the belt buckle point more down towards the ground versus up in the air. That would be feel number one. I want to talk to you today about Live View Golf. Now, you guys hear me say all the time that you need feedback when you're practicing. You need to know if you're actually doing what you're trying to do, and the best way to give yourself feedback ultimately is video. And not only is video the best way to give yourself feedback, but being able to see yourself simultaneously as you're doing a movement is the best form of video feedback. It's the best way I've seen to make changes in your swing and be able to correlate the differences between your feels and your reels. Live View is super easy to use and set up. Simply set it up behind or in front of you. You connect it with your iPad or phone, pop that on the ground. You can actually do your practice, see yourself as you're doing it, the best way to expedite your process. I encourage you guys to check out Live View Golf. We'll put a link in the description down below with a coupon code. Hey guys, Eric here out at the Don Law Golf Academy at beautiful Osprey Point Golf Club in Boca Raton, Florida. In today's video, we're going to talk about the squat move, how to start the downswing. I'm really going to break that down into two simple feels for you guys. Quickly before we dive in, if you guys do like this video, do us a favor along the line, click that like button, that gray thumbs up button down there, really helps us out. Click the subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment down below. Let's keep the conversation going beyond this video. So let's talk about the squat move and how to simplify it. Now, lots of videos, we've talked in the past about how to start the downswing and different movements of it. And I see a lot of things get exaggerated. And that to me sort of identifies a little bit of a lack of understanding or miscommunication on what's supposed to actually happen with the hips when you start down. So when I'm talking about the squat move, we're talking from the top of the backswing as they initiate the downswing. If you watch pros or really good golfers, I'd say the easiest way to look at this would be two ways. One would be if you drew a line on the golfer's top of their head at the top of the backswing, you would see in transition their head would lower some amount. You used to see Tiger all the time on TV and they'd say, oh my gosh, Tiger's lowering so much, right? That's why he's playing so poorly. So that top of head coming down in transition. The second way you would see it, if you drew a line on the belt line, would be their hips would lower right in transition, or they would quite literally do a squat motion. So when you think about a squat motion, you would think about the legs increasing bend, right? If I had like a squat bar on my back, there's an increase of bend in transition as their feet push into the ground. Now the question is, do you need to do this? How do you do it? Why do you do it? Right, and I just want to add a couple of simple thoughts here. I think there's two feels specifically that can really help when you're starting your downswing. One has to do with the direction the belt buckle is pointed, and this one doesn't get covered as much. And what I mean here, if I were to draw like a laser beam or like a light bulb through my flashlight through my belt line, I can point that more down towards the ground, just anterior pelvic tilt, or I could point it more up towards the sky. One of the pieces with this squat move you want to look at is where your belt buckle points in transition. The best pivots, the best hip motion, the best lower body motion in the world, their belt buckle from the top of the swing actually points more down towards the ground in transition. The bad version would be the belt buckle points more up towards the sky. You can see as my belt buckle points more up towards the sky, my legs lose flex. I get taller, the opposite of a squat. When my belt buckle points more down towards the ground, into your pelvic tilt, you can see that pushes my hips back and that increases the leg bend. And that would be the first part that I would focus on if you're looking to be a little bit more dynamic and powerful in transition, is you having the belt buckle point more down towards the ground versus up in the air. That would be feel number one. So let's go ahead and hit a couple with just that first part and referencing the belt line. Then I'm going to add a second feel in here. So I go up to the top of my backswing. My belt line, I'm going to point more down towards the ground. Now, as I'm pointing it more down towards the ground, it should also be turning towards the target. So it points down and turns. My belt buckle points down and turns. Up towards the ball with no turn is bad. Down towards the ball and towards the target would be good. Let's just do one here with a normal shot. Up to the top, belt buckle down towards the ground. You can feel some hip depth there. You'll feel your legs increasing, bend, getting a little lower to the ground. Belt buckle down in transition. Good. Now let's do that same thing again here and feel the same piece, but I'm going to add in a secondary feel. So as my belt buckle pushes down and towards the target in early transition, there's also going to be a lowering. So if I were to draw the line across my belt at the top of the backswing, my belt buckle feels like it gets lower to the ground. Let's say here it's 3 feet. I want to feel like it gets less than 3 feet as my belt buckle points towards the ball. So my belt buckle is literally getting lower to the ground as it points towards the ball and towards the target. Lower towards the ground, towards the ball, towards the target. So down to the ground and tilted down in transition. Those are the two feels. Down towards the ground, tilted down. Now, if you do that piece correctly, that should take care of the leg motion. That should take care of the squat motion, where you don't need to necessarily feel like you're bending your legs or doing anything beyond that. You can, there's different ways to do this, but I would focus on that first, lowering the belt line and pointing the belt buckle more down versus up. Again, here's the bad version. Belt buckle up and higher, good. Belt buckle down and turning. So lower to the ground and pointed more down towards the ground. So we're gonna go up, rehearse that once or twice. Up to the top, belt buckle points down and lower. And I'm feeling that in very early transition, right from the top. For a lot of you who struggle with hip depth, struggle with early extension, right, struggle with creating speed with your lower body, this is a really nice one to feel early. Belt buckle lowers and points more down and turns a little towards the target. We'll do one more with the 8-iron. And this is the same thing, guys. If you were hitting a wedge with this, a little bit to a lesser degree with the wedge, but same thing there, same thing with the driver. Belt buckle lower, points more down. And that should feel a lot more powerful in transition. And that's how I would practice that, right? If you're gonna be a little bit more in-depth with your practice, I would record it from down the line, which we always suggest when you're working on your swing. And I would look at the height of your hips, and you want to draw a line at the top and have them be lower. And by you feeling the belt buckle getting closer to the ground, the legs will flex by themselves. And by you feeling the belt buckle pointed more down, the hips will get deeper by themselves, so that lower and deeper. I would record myself from down the line, look at those two variables, but in terms of hitting, start with those feels. You're gonna notice that your body does feel closer to the ground. You're gonna feel more powerful through the hit. And I would do this, you know, little lesser degree with the wedges, because you don't need as much of the power. And then you could do it to the most degree with the driver or the longer club. So that's the squat move simplified. Those are the two feels that I would really focus on recording yourself from down the line. If you guys did enjoy this video, we're gonna put another card on the screen with a similar YouTube style video you guys are gonna love. If you wanna work with us at Cogorno Golf, I would love to work with you, coach you through this squat motion, or help you identify the predators in your swing so you can start to make real progress. We'll put that on the screen as well. Thank you guys for watching.